Hey guys, Alex Kahn here, and before I start my diecast review, I want to give a big shout out to Brad Hare Productions for painting these two figurines here for my video. So this is the mechanic played by Dennis Wilson, one of the Beach Boys, and then this guy right here is the driver, played by James Taylor, another musician. And there's two other main characters, but I'll talk about them later on. I want to talk about this 55 Chevy 150 diecast. So when I found this on eBay, I got it on a bid, and luckily I didn't have to pay too much for it, because if you do find this on eBay, you're going to find a lot of sellers putting this at a pretty high price. And I got lucky that I didn't have to pay as much as some of the sellers are charging for this diecast, but these sellers know that people want this diecast because this is a very iconic movie, the 1971 two-lane Blacktop movie. So this box comes in a pretty old school looking box, even though it's really not old school, but it's made by American Muscles. And there's another version of this where you can take this car apart, but I wanted to get this diecast version where you didn't have to take it apart and all that. I just like these already made and assembled and ready for me to appreciate. But the back of the box, it says two-lane Blacktop. It talks about the movie details, so that makes me think that this diecast definitely had the official license to market this product. Unlike the 1970 Pontiac GTO used in that movie, there is a seller. I mean, there is a company that made that car, but I don't think they had the license for it because they don't mention anything about the movie, and they don't even write two-lane Blacktop on it. But I won't go into that just yet because I'll make another video for the other car, which I do have. Thank me later. So let's talk about this diecast. So yeah, it is a 1/18 scale. It's got the proper license plate on it. Did not come with the drivers. These guys are actually 3D printed, and Brad Hare Productions painted them up. But yeah, it's a 55 Chevy 150. The 150 is distinguished from the 210 and the Bel Air. Mainly, it's got less trim details. The 150 has a lot of interior items like the ashtray, like radio, all that stuff being really optional. Because when they made the 150, they wanted it to be marketable for people who wanted to save money and just buy a car that could just get them around from point A to point B. This car came with a V8 small block engine, but for the movie two-lane Blacktop, they put in a big block engine, and it's got these American Racing daisy wheels. The paint job or lack of a paint job, it's a primer silver color. It's got this outrageous hood scoop on it, and from what I can gather, the interior is correct. The interior was black, just like in the movie version. Now, in the movie, the people who made this car, they wanted to save weight, so they made the hood out of fiberglass. Same with the doors, made of fiberglass. Even this trunk apparently was made of fiberglass, which I'll have to mess with that later on. But something that's really cool about this car, I think they made 3 of these cars for the movie, and then after they're done filming, they used 2 of these cars for the movie American Graffiti, and that's the black 55 Chevy that Harrison Ford drives. And obviously they made some changes, obviously with the paint job, and the biggest noticeable change is the big hood scoop, which was changed out for a smaller one for American Graffiti. Now, back to the other characters in this movie. So as I said, you had James Taylor playing the driver, you had Dennis Wilson playing the mechanic, and there was a girl, her name was Lori Bird, and her name in the movie was Girl. And then there was another main character played by Warren Oates. He drove a Pontiac GTO, and can you guess what his name was? His name was GTO in the movie. But Warren Oates was actually a really big actor in this movie. As I said, these two guys were actually musicians, but Warren Oates came. He had a lot of film credibility under his name. If you guys know anything about Lori Bird, if you read a little bit more about her, it's kind of a sad story. So whenever I watch Two Lane Blacktop, I kind of tear up a little bit knowing what happens to Lori Bird in real life. But yeah, back to this movie. It's a very it's existential. It's a bit deeper than what you're actually seeing. Very minimal dialogue, not really a plot. I love that. It makes this movie feel so raw, and and it's also being touted as a time capsule movie because a lot of this movie takes place on the old Route 66, which is no longer the way it looks anymore. It's been repaved over and doesn't really exist, not in the sense that it used to exist. But back in the day, Route 66 was huge. A lot of travel going from west to east or east to west. But yeah, in the movie, if you guys hadn't seen it, it's really about these guys, and they make money by street racing. They kind of hustle other cars into racing them, and then they get money for it. So they eventually meet the Pontiac GTO driver, and then they agree to race for the pink slips, which means whoever wins gets the other person's car. And they let Warren Oates pick the race course, which is basically going to be from the West Coast all the way to Washington D.C. And it's really interesting watching the movie because when you watch it, nobody is in a hurry to get anywhere, even though it's a race. They don't seem to be any kind of rush, no sense of urgency. And at some point, this guy's driving the Pontiac GTO so that Warren Oates can get some rest. So it's really not about the racing, but it is about the cars. And in that respect, I love it. It's hard to explain it really. But I do want to talk about some of the features on this car before the video runs out. So this hood actually comes down. Oh crap! Hold on. I might have to close the doors. Sorry, mechanic and driver. So that does open up, and it reveals the big block engine. Hopefully I can get this trunk open this time. Crap. I'm trying to open the trunk. I know it opens. Note to self, guys, it says opening doors and hood, does not mention the trunk. So if you do get this car, do not try to open the trunk. I feel really bad that I even tried to do that. But yeah, this car really is a sweet looking car. You know, I'm not much of a Chevy person myself, but this car is iconic. There we go. We got this other one open.